Hey everybody, Greg Boswell here. I have a book that I just recently finished that I thought was worth sharing because it was so good. I'm not kidding you. I read a lot of books, but not all of them are worthy of mention or even of the time of writing a review. And this one, it's an old book. It is written in, let me check here just to make sure. I don't want to get this wrong. 1925. It's The Painted Veil by M. Somerset Maugham. Now, I was at first interested in this author because I'm a big fan of James Bond, and Ian Fleming is the one who wrote initially wrote the James Bond books back in the 1950s and 60s, and Maugham, M. Somerset Maugham, was a friend of his, and Somerset Maugham also had done some service in the SOS and MI5, and so that's always that piqued my interest initially. Years ago, I said I ought to read some of his books. Well, when this movie, The Painted Veil, came out, it starred Edward Norton and Naomi Watts. Came out just a few years ago, and I didn't know initially that this movie was based on a M. Somerset Maugham book, but it looked interesting. I liked both those actors, and so we watched it, and it was great. Got to the end, saw the credits, saw that it was based on a book that he had written. I said, I've got to pick that up. And so the movie's really good. I suggest that too. But I saw it, as there's basically an old adage by now. The book is always better than the movie, and that is definitely true in this case. It is very good. It does not disappoint. Now, before I get into what this book is about, let me tell you something. The writing is masterful. I like British authors anyway. They just have a grasp of the English language that we don't take too seriously over here. And I like a little bit of a challenge, having to look words up. I enjoy that, and it's easily read. It's not difficult. It's not like you're going to have to constantly keep a dictionary by. It's only in a couple of cases, but there's a nice flow to it. It just smoothly sails along, and you don't want to put the book down. You could probably easily read it in one day. I didn't. The book is 246 pages long. Now, I got this at the library, and the reason I got the library is because, I just happened to be there when I saw it. But I live in an apartment now, so I don't want to fill up my apartment with books I don't want to fill my habitation with books until I get a house, because that's just, moving books is hard. They're just heavy, and I've got boxes and boxes of books, and I had to rethink, whether I was going to keep buying books or just getting to the library. Well, it's probably going to be half and half, but this book is worth buying. That's my point. Now, back to what the book is all about. The book takes place back in the early 1920s, and it has to do with an adulterous woman married to a man who is infatuated and madly in love with his wife. But she doesn't feel the same way. She does not feel the same way. And I've read reviews, other people's reviews in the books, and they like to say that, women were oppressed and they didn't get to make choices back then. And so she's kind of a victim of her culture. Well, I'm going to tell you something. The author makes very clear that she is not a victim to the cultural milieu. She made her choices. She had lots of options, plenty of suitors, and she went with what she thought her mother would have wanted and what benefited her most. It's all about the bottom line. And so she married this man, and yes, he has a lot of in the book you can see why somebody might not love him so much, but she didn't have to marry him. But he was very good to her. He was a bacteriologist, and he worked for the imperial government, and a lot of the people they rubbed elbows with were people of the same ilk, and magistrates and people within the layers of government. And so Kitty Fane, the protagonist, or the antagonist, whatever, the protagonist, she's the central character. Walter Fane, her husband, is also. But you'll see why I say that if you read the book. She's not good to him. He's really good to her. Now, she ends up having an affair with somebody. I'm not giving too much away because they hit you with this as soon as you open the pages of the book. She's having an affair for about a year with a man that's kind of a friend. He's more of a constituent, and he's like Mr. GQ. He's the man that everyone would want. Now, I've seen guys like this, and guys that are watching this video, they know what I'm talking about too, because we all know these guys are all players. Everything about that is fake, and nobody is as smooth as what these guys try to come off as. So, anyway, she has this affair. Her husband finds out about it. He's angry. He decides to take a job, a post in Maitan Fu, which is, I guess the book was rewritten because it used to say Hong Kong. But they changed it to Maitan Fu, and it's just a fictional place. And he goes there with perhaps the intent that his wife will succumb to the cholera that is an epidemic over there. And at the very least, he can kind of be someone who can do research there and hopefully save these people. Now, beyond that, I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens, except the gist of the story, which is that this is a tale of unrequited love, unappreciated attention and affection. And what I like about this book is I wish I would have read it many, 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 many years ago. It would have helped me in a lot of different relationships. Because a lot of people, many people, and probably most people at some point or another in time, have been in relationships where it's very lopsided. And one person loves the other person more, and you really think, the person who's doing all the loving really thinks that they can love that person into changing. When we're asked if we're trying to change another person, we kind of cringe at that, go, no, of course I'm not. But let's be honest, when you really love someone and you don't want to let them go, you hold on to them, like a bar of wet soap, and you grab tight, but the tighter you grab, the quicker it's released from your hand. And that's what happens. This book hits on the psychology of and the dynamics of a relationship like none other that I've ever read in the fiction genre. And I think that anybody who was to read this will be able to assess for themselves that perhaps I'm doing the same thing, or maybe I should change my tack. Because it's really good. There's a lot of books out there that try to, and even movies do this all the time, where they try to convey that if you chase the woman, if you run after her, if you give her flowers and the ring and the big wedding and give her all these things and the wonderful life, she'll be faithful to you and she'll love you back. In reality, it doesn't work that way at all. I mean, at all. I don't care what socioeconomic level you're at. It doesn't work that way on any level. You can't listen to movies. You can't listen to a lot of the books that are out there, because you can write anything you want into a movie or a book. But this book nails it, man. He absolutely nails it. That doesn't work. It'll never work, because there are some people who are so filled with malignant self-love, they don't have the capacity to truly love anybody else. And you kept hoping you'd find out that the things turned for the better in the book. You're going to be very... Man, the book is so good. I wouldn't recommend it if it wasn't true. But you got to pick it up. And if you're in a relationship with somebody where you feel like it's a lopsided relationship and you feel like you're doing most of the loving, and you think that by loving somebody so much and continuing to do that over time, over years, that you're going to get what you want, you're probably mistaken. Read this book. Pick it up. Okay? It's great. It's awesome. If you like this video, subscribe, hit the like button, and I enjoyed it. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye-bye.